Story 1. The United States used to have a halfpenny coin. We stopped making it when it had more buying power than a nickel does today, due to the cost of production. We should have stopped making pennies years ago, and the nickel could be discontinued as well. It's a waste of money. Story 2. As for stopping production of the penny, absolutely about time. As for the way it was done, absolutely not a safe method of government. This is a job for Congress. If Congress is too disabled to do their job, then action should be taken to make Congress effective, not work around them. Story 3. About time? Honestly, nickels can go too. I think these coins are nicer as a novelty and will never go away, but getting them out of common use would be completely fine with me. Story 4. Finally, a Trump administration policy decision I agree with, but not how it was brought about. Congress should not be relinquishing its duties to the executive. Story 5. Canada stopped making pennies years ago, and it was a very smooth transition. Paying with cash is not very common, especially now, and if you just round the total, you break even in the grander scheme of things. There are very few downsides unless you are an irritable old person or a penny collector. Story 6. Where will all the pennies currently in circulation go? Will they just disappear like the Kennedy coin? But the real hard-hitting question is, where will we find our all-day luck if we don't have a penny to find and pick up? Story 7. It is a good idea, but it is being done unlawfully. It would be nice if we could have it done through Congress, the way the law is written. It is Congress that oversees the mint's operations and authorizes the manufacturing of coins, as well as many metals. As a part of the United States Department of the Treasury, the United States Mint derives its authority from the United States Congress, reads the agency's website. Story 8. I don't like Trump one little bit, but I'm not seeing a downside to this. And this move should have been made a long time ago. It could very well be 100 years before Congress gets around to this. I may not like the man, I hate nearly everything he's done so far, but I can't get mad about this. Story 9. In Switzerland, the franc is worth more than the dollar, yet the smallest denomination is 0.05, and even that is very rarely used. Lots of countries could benefit from getting rid of their lowest value coinage. There are very few downsides. On the other hand, in most functional democratic countries, the executive is held to the rule of law, cannot just decree what it wants. I'm not sure getting rid of pennies more easily is worth undermining a few hundred years of somewhat stable government. Story 10. Just based on inflation alone, we should have been getting rid of the dime about now. Once upon a time, I used to be fundamentally opposed to a penny being a basic unit of currency. This dates me, but I remember the days when one bazooka bubble gum cost a penny, and when it suddenly went to 2 cents, you could have an orphan penny in your pocket that couldn't buy anything by itself. But today, I readily accept that the dollar is the basic unit, and we need to treat fractional units like Bitcoin rightfully does, flexibly. The dollar bill should have been gone 30 years ago. We've had dollar coins that long, and unlike pennies, dollar bills don't last long in circulation. And while we're getting rid of stuff, *tenth of a penny pricing at gas stations might have made sense when gas was 15 cents per gallon. *daylight savings time, disproven time and time again as a way to save anything. *non-metric units. We were so close. Story 11. This is Congress's role, acceded to the executive branch because Congress is so feckless and incompetent. Good move, done in a way that further demonstrates our political system is in shambles. Story 12. West Wing did a great episode on this all the way back in 2001. Reasons are still valid. Stuff like them costing more to make than they are worth, dropping out of circulation, etc. Story 13. If they do this, they should make all retailers put the final price on everything in stores, including tax. So, if you pick up an item for $19.95, when you walk to the register it would cost you $19.95 out the door. I would bet most people would want to see this in the store and not add up everything they are buying and try to figure out the tax on it. My complaint with getting rid of the penny is due to retailers. What they will do is just round everything up so things will cost more money than they do now. You are going to sit there and say it's only a few cents. Sure, but over 20 years you will be paying hundreds or even thousands of dollars more out of your pocket. The retailers will just find a way to make a profit from it. Story 14. It is something that should have been done years ago, but deciding what currency is produced is a duty of Congress and the president. Just deciding it by executive order reeks of abuse. It is a petty thing designed to test the waters for more contentious oversteps. Story 15. I am Canadian, and we haven't produced pennies in about 10 years. Totals get rounded to the nearest 5 cents. For example, let's say your total is $6.33. If you're paying with debit, you still pay $6.33, but if you're paying with cash, it gets rounded. If I remember correctly, it's rounded down for customers, so $6.30 instead of $6.35. Story 16. Common sense move that should have happened long ago, same as moving to dollar coins. We're wasting money making money that doesn't function anymore. Story 17. They're not going to stop producing pennies because the executive order is illegal. They should stop making them, possibly the nickel too, but it has to go through Congress. Story 18. I'm in favor of it. It's supposed to be Congress that decides that. The zinc industry and companies that produce penny slugs must not have kissed the rings properly. Yay, a little more savings to pay for corporate subsidies and tax cuts for the rich. Retailers can round everything up and collectively make millions more off all us consumers. I may be getting cynical in my old age. Story 19. It's not the what, it's the how. It should be an act of Congress and not part of the ever-continuing and worsening executive overreach. United States Constitution Article 1, Section 8, Clause 5. The Congress shall have power to coin money, regulate the value thereof and of foreign coin, and fix the standard of weights and measures. It was so important to the founders, it was basically the eighth thing in the entire Constitution. Story 20. The issue isn't eliminating the penny, in my opinion. It's that doing so is constitutionally required to be an act of Congress and not the president. The problem is, even when they are doing something ostensibly good, they are doing it for the wrong reasons and in a way that continues to consolidate power and wealth for themselves. Not every single thing will be bad, though. A broken clock is right twice a day and all that. Even Nixon passed the Endangered Species Act. But the majority of this is going to be bad for the average American and serve no purpose but to drain the country for the ultra-wealthy on the right. Even the dismissal of the man in charge of ensuring our union laws are followed basically just gave Musk and Bezos free rein to engage in union-busting behavior without repercussion. Story 21. It's fine to stop making the penny. How it is meant to work is, if Congress decides to stop making pennies, they pass legislation to tell the Treasury to stop. The president does not have the legal authority to order the Treasury to stop minting the penny. The Republican Party is so ineffective at governing that they are ceding the co-equal status of the legislature to Donald Trump in exactly the way Democrats warned would happen. He became a dictator on day one. Bad things are happening. Story 22. All I can think about is John Green, known penny hater, and up until recently pretty apolitical. Now forced to confront a harsh truth. Is the enemy of my enemy my friend? But what if the enemy of my enemy is also the friend of a different enemy? Story 23. It's been this way in Canada for years, and several other countries from my understanding as well. It's been fine. Probably the only okay thing the demon pumpkin has done. Story 24. As a coin collector, disappointed. As a taxpayer, glad. As someone who likes to use cash, irritated that we won't be able to pay bills that aren't in increments of 5 cents. Why don't we just make pennies out of something super cheap like plastic so that they don't cost a fortune to make, just like paper money? Story 25 about damn time. I thought they were going to be like they are about not switching to metric. Proudly ignorant and obstinate. Also, Canada beat them to it. We stopped making pennies 13 years ago. Story 26. Should have happened years ago, but not via executive order. Only Congress has this power or should have this power exclusively based on the United States Constitution. Story 27. The only thing with this is you know that the billionaires aren't going to round down that penny. They are going to round up that 0.001 cent because there is no one in power who will stop it. You don't think that's a lot, but that extra few cents has corporate greed written all over it. Story 28. I am a coin collector of 10 years. This is what I sent my mom last night when she asked me about it. I have mixed feelings on this. On the one hand, the logic is sound. I have been at least somewhat supportive of phasing out the penny for years, and the only reason I am not fully supportive is because I like collecting them. On the other hand, the same argument applies to nickels. And if you are going to eliminate pennies and nickels, then we need to replace quarters with a 20-cent coin. And if we are already modifying our entire coinage system, then phase out the $1 and $2 bills and replace them with $1 and $2 coins that we actually put effort into pushing and publicizing. The problem is, I do not see that happening, which means he is just wasting America's best shot at coinage reform in decades. And I realize that he is just wasting America's best shot at coinage reform in decades is the least of the issues with this administration, but that does not mean it does not annoy me. I am curious if, 1, any were already minted this year. I usually do not find the new ones until April or May, but it takes a few months even for coins that circulate a lot, so that does not necessarily mean anything. The penny will be demonetized. Story 29 will not happen. Just like unneeded military bases, whatever congressional district they are made in, that congressman will stop it. Got to keep that money coming in. Story 30. I agree with the idea. We should stop making pennies. But I completely disagree with the method. The president does not have the power to make this decision. Story 31. As a coin collector, I'm sad. As a taxpayer, I say do nickels too. They don't facilitate commerce, and they aren't profitable for the mint to make. If they do neither, then what's the point? Story 32. Someone is going to get shot over a rounding misunderstanding. They are going to want those 2 cents. When Canada got rid of the penny, nothing really changed. America will find a way to make it contentious. Story 33. It's a no-brainer. They're not even the same value with what it costs to produce them. We got rid of them in Canada years ago, the same with $1 and $2 bills. Story 34. We don't use pennies. Plain and simple. Most people carry cards now, and prices can be adjusted in increments of 5 for those who might carry cash. Right now, we spend 3 cents for every 1-cent coin we mint. Story 35. What do I think? First of all, I'm happy about it. It's about time. However, I have 2 concerns. This should be a congressional decision, not an order from a president who is already acting well outside their actual scope of authority. While this can add up to thousands of dollars saved or lost per person, depending on how the total would be rounded, the people behind the production stoppage make me believe that the rounding will be done in a way to benefit them alone and hurt us. Even if it doesn't and it actually benefits us in the long run, well, even a stopped clock is right twice per day. Story 36. Good idea on paper, but it will not save as much money as someone might think. Only around $90 million if I remember correctly. What is needed is a cut in wasteful military spending, but we all know that is never going to happen. Story 37. As a coin collector, it makes no difference to me whether they stop making them or not. I do think we need to stop having 2 different dollar coins in circulation, Sacagawea still minted for collectors, and the John F. Kennedy half also minted only for collectors. Talk about a waste of money. Story 38. And how are people who are road raging going to be able to inexpensively damage someone else's car if they don't have a handful of pennies to throw? Americans won't put up with it. Story 39. I'm an avid coin collector, but I think it makes sense to eliminate the penny. It is sad that inflation has wiped out the need for metal change. It's the end of an era, and sometimes change is good. But I do feel like we are missing something with the loss of metal coins. Story 40. I don't know, man. What about the people that still use cash? Are taxes going to be rounded up to the nearest nickel? Will old pennies keep circulating? And is it business as usual? Story 41. I think pennies are a waste when it comes to coins. But there would need to be legislation on how businesses would handle things. The tax tables would need to be changed and lots of stuff. Story 42. It's going to make prices go up all over the place. I see it as inflationary. Admittedly, I am wondering about the pricing strategy ending in 99 cents. I have a hard time imagining businesses rounding down to 95 cents, but I can imagine the backlash to so many prices going up by 96 cents. Story 43, just focusing on the big things happening in the country. I'm so glad pennies are gone. The dozen 150-year-olds still collecting welfare were found, and the 0.004% of United States Agency for International Development spending is being brought to light. Story 44. I think we are going to get hosed. Canadians talk about rounding up or down, but I guarantee every greedy company in America will just raise their prices to the nearest 5 cents, eat up the profit, and congratulate themselves on how they screwed the public once again. Bonuses for chief executive officers. Story 45. So what, we have to pay the 2 extra cents to stores if things come out to $9.23? Definitely a boon to big grocery conglomerates. I'd imagine 2 cents adds up to millions in stolen money annually. Story 46. The dime would have been wiser to get rid of. It is unnecessary due to the nickel and pennies. I do not like rounding. The penny should stay in circulation. Story 47. One thing I've not seen brought up is that while not producing pennies is the right thing to do, Donald Trump does not have the power to order it. The Constitution is extremely clear that the power to mint coinage rests with Congress. You might think this is no big deal, but we can't let small but blatant violations slide, or they will quickly turn into big blatant violations. He's already doing those, obviously, but the point is that all violations must be called out, big and small. So yeah, good policy but blatantly unconstitutional and should be stopped until Congress passes a law. Edit. I read further and some other people have brought this up. Good.